when did that start, Rob? What year were you first engaged with OpenStack?
That was 2008. I'm what people would consider OG OpenStack. So I was at what was the Austin meeting where Rackspace was talking about the concept and bringing up the original designs. We'd been going down to Rackspace and meeting with the teams about what they were trying to do. So it was really those very first meetings, 2008, 2009, where we were forming what was going to happen. And the nice thing is we built some tech for installing and operating and provisioning, combined with work we'd been doing with Puppet and Chef that was really, we had the right tech to help start doing install work for OpenStack. So we had a lot to offer the team that was forming on how to make that happen.
So you were kind of part of forming the OpenStack community, right?
Very much. Yeah, it was a very small number of partners. Actually, a lot of the partners who we expected to be important players in the OpenStack days did not stay the course. Citrix was in there. I think it was Deloitte. There was a consulting company that was expecting to have a big impact. And Rackspace, which was really the foundation of it, really took a very open collaborative perspective. So they sort of, which is different than what you see a lot of times nowadays. There wasn't a lot of code existing already. There was some, but not that much. And Rackspace really was trying to build a coalition of partners to do joint development. I'm not sure I would repeat that experience. It's a very difficult way to start a project. And there were things that happened as a consequence of that initial design decision that are still incredibly deeply embedded in how OpenStack operates. Right, this idea that it was going to have multiple hypervisors embedded in it was a logical but horrible decision at the same time. Because it meant a level of complexity in the initial project to bring Zen in and Microsoft with Hyper-V in and just maybe to bring in VMware that really didn't make the project any more functional. It made the collaboration, the efforts more functional. And there's a lot of examples of things like that. The decision to be 100% in Python was a very architecturally specific decision, and the decision to divide the project into sub-projects and have such an API-driven, independent approach. Those are all designed because of this idea of, you have a lot of different parties who are going to collaborate together. And I'm not sure, it works for what OpenStack needed to be. If you're just designing a software project, it's actually, some of those things are actually really suboptimal design strategies.
Can add some complexity, that's for sure.
The idea that you're going to take core components of what you're building, networking, storage, identity and authentication, compute management, right, and split them into teams with different leaders, and then have them all coupled through an API. You immediately start with the core parts of the inner workings of the system actually now having competing priorities and they're decoupled in a way, but from a product perspective, those are actually tightly coupled concerns. And so it makes the architecture more challenging. Right? One of the things that was always an interesting, there's a lot of things that in my OpenStack experience that I thought were amazing at the time, and I look back on and I'm like, what were we thinking? One of them is every OpenStack presentation that I saw and I would give starts with this landscape picture with all these code names in it, right? And we would be like, oh, look at all this, and it's inside baseball. It's cool. Most of the people in that room didn't want to have to learn a project code name to talk about anything. They just sort of like, I need you to run my VMs for me, please. Right. And they're like, well, that's Nova. And you really have a problem with Quantum and you should go see that team. And It makes sense from an OpenStack and open source and collaboration team. But if you're a user, that's really exhausting.